Can you believe we're just a month away from Daphne delivering? The thing is, she looks pretty big. But, guys, I think Daphne definitely just has one in there. So I ultrasounded her back when she was about 70 days pregnant, and this is what I saw. And although I can kind of maybe see something on the side, I don't see anything in that sac, and it looks really similar to what it looked like last year when she had one kid. But here's the thing that we're hoping for. A doeling. So since we're about a month away from her kidding, and I know that there's just one in there, I've thought a lot about what I need to do, and I need you guys to help me make the decision on what to do and stick to it. Whether she has a doeling or a buckling, just stick to it. We have had a lot of years with Daphne and me trying lots of different things. So let me go back and do a recap on Daphne's story. I can't show you a messy bed when I'm talking about how great my bed is. It's gotta be perfect. Kevin used to joke about how I am the princess and the pea. I need to have the perfect, most comfortable bed to sleep on, and I'm sorry, but it's true. I need to have one so that I sleep good and I feel good throughout the day, and Brooklyn Bedding is where it's at. Here's why. They win in every category. They're gonna give you that support, that firmness at the base, but then a very comfortable, cushiony cloud pillow top so you sink deeply into your mattress and into a nice deep sleep. We've had our mattresses now for almost 2 years, and Kevin and I have seen a huge improvement in our sleep. One thing that I love in particular though is how cool I sleep at night. We live in Arizona. I mean, we're still hitting the high 80s right now. So sleeping cool is very important to me. And that's what you're gonna get with Brooklyn Bedding. But here's what makes them different from all those other ship-to-home mattresses. They are a factory direct company, meaning they make everything in-house and ship it straight to your door. So there's no middleman, and then that way they can lower the price. When you go online to order, it's so simple. You'll pick the type of mattress you like, the size, they even have some custom sizes, and then you can choose to add the pillow top. We've always gotten the Aurora Luxe, but they have lots of different options. In fact, they have a new one called the Copper Flex Collection, which is an even more affordable option. Once you order, you will get free shipping right to your door, and it's super easy to unbox. It's not like those foam mattresses that have an odor. These are premium quality, no smell, they pop right into shape, and you can start enjoying the most comfortable bed right away. What's cool is they also have a 120-night sleep trial. But I think you're gonna find out right away how much you love this mattress, and you'll never go back. To get your own mattress, you can visit brooklynbedding.com/Weedum to get 30% off your order with code Weedum. You can also support our channel by telling them in a post-purchase survey that we sent you, so be sure to do that. So if you're looking for a new mattress and you want something that's comfortable, affordable, and ships free to your door, check out Brooklyn Bedding. So here's Daphne's story. We purchased her in 2021. I was really excited to have a new show goat here on the farm. Something with a little bit better genetics, something that would show well in the ring and be able to produce lots of amazing kids for us. So we raised her up, and then that fall we bred her to our newest buck, Napoleon. You guys remember him? And then the following year she delivered 3 kids. Unfortunately, 1 died. And at the time, I wasn't quite sure why. So while it was sad that that buckling passed away, I was excited to have 2 doelings to raise up and see which one was best. Meanwhile, we got to see our first glimpse of Daphne's udder. And it was honestly pretty good. But she had a combo of traits from both sides that ended up not being my ideal. So while she had a lot of production from her dam's side, her sire's side gave her the lack of side attachments, so that udder was swinging a little too much, and it wasn't exactly the quality I wanted. But she was still great in so many other aspects, so I decided to just keep her, and I decided we'll just find a good buck to breed her to. But she actually looked pretty good, and so we took her to shows that year, and she did great, and they were really competitive classes, so I was like, this is great. So in the fall, we bred her again to our newest buck that year, Finnick. I loved his dams line, and I thought it would pair really well with hers, but unfortunately I started to notice that Finnick looked quite narrow in the rump, and I thought, oh gosh, is he gonna pass this on? And this is what happened. So the following spring, Daphne kidded, and that year she had 5 kids. Unfortunately, 2 died, and this is where I realized Daphne's biggest flaw. because when I was watching her in labor, she just seemed like she never progressed to active labor. She wasn't digging or trying to strain or push. She just sort of chilled out. In most of these cases, you should wait and let the doe progress. But in Daphne's case, doing that made kids die. And this specific kidding, she seemed fine. She was just laying there chewing her cud. So I went to bed without checking her internally. And the next morning, when I saw that she was still just chill and fine, I thought, we've got to go in and check. And I did, and there was a head right there in the canal. This is so odd because I have talked to so many breeders and I haven't found one person that has had this same problem. So it's pretty crazy. So after that happened, and after I decided I will always pull kids from Daphne no matter what, we were still left with triplets. So she had 1 buckling and 2 doelings. I decided again to raise up both doelings and see how they're gonna do. She had a little moment of wanting to reject one of the doelings, but with some pain management, we were able to get that taken care of. The 2 doelings we named Shania and Winona. But at the same time, Daphne's other daughters from the previous year, Dolly and Reba, were kidding for their first time. They had kids on the exact same day. Dolly had 4, Reba had 2, and I was shocked to see such a difference in their udders. Like, shocked. Dolly had this small, kind of misshapen udder, whereas Reba had this huge one. And because Dolly had more kids, and I had withheld the kids before I, evaluated the udder, Dolly should have produced a lot more milk. But she didn't, and it was just sort of odd, so I decided to keep Reba and go with that line. So we're raising up the 2 doelings from Daphne, we're keeping Reba, and we're showing Daphne again that year. In the second year, she did really well. She got some more second places, and she got a reserve champion. I also had her linear appraised, and she got a really high score. So I decided to breed her this time to our newest buck, Lancelot. And the following year, as she turned 3, she delivered 2 bucklings with the same delivery experience. There was a head there. I fortunately went in early, was able to take the kids out, and we had 2 little bucklings, although one of the bucklings was really tiny, and unfortunately he ended up passing away. He just couldn't make it. And Daphne sort of struggled that year. She didn't produce a lot of milk since she technically only had 1 kid. So I decided to dry her up early, and then in the fall, I was gonna do something I hadn't done before, which was AI, and I thought, this is it. We just gotta find the right buck to breed her to. I did a bunch of research on which buck to breed her to, and I settled on Agape's Prize Soliman Quinn because I just had a hunch that those lines would mesh well together. And my hunch was wrong. So while the AI did work, it was successful. That was really cool. When that kid came out, let me tell ya, he was a goofy boy. He just didn't look right. He was higher in the rump, he had really goofy back legs, he was honestly sort of a mess. He was sort of cow-hawked, where their back legs kick together when they walk. So we castrated him, sold him as a wether so his genetics couldn't continue. So after that experience, I milked her for a little bit of the year and then decided to dry her up and then breed her this year, just a few months ago, to Pokey. And that brings us to today. Okay, so here's a recap of all of Daphne's kids, what happened to them, why some of them didn't work out. And over the years, it's been so hard because she's been my most expensive goat, and that's probably why I've stuck with breeding her for so long, because when you spend a lot of money on a goat, you really want to use those genetics and you want to like validate your purchase. But I've had a lot of friends tell me to just stop with that line and move on. So it's kind of tricky, but I think the thing that I've struggled with the most is thinking the right buck would fix the udder or like improve it a little bit. She already has a pretty great udder. It's just like that improvement that I'm looking for. When you're raising goats, breeding goats, you have to think to yourself like, why am I doing this? Why am I breeding goats? And in the past it was just for us to get milk, but now I'm focused on the breed's problems, the genetic improvement. And within the goat community, it's actually really fun to talk with other breeders and see what they're struggling with and see what they notice in the breed and see what improvements they've been able to make with different genetic combinations. And it really feels like you're a geneticist in a way. You can sort of manipulate and use data to hopefully improve this breed. This breed has come a long way, but it still has a ways to go. So specifically with Daphne, I've been wanting to improve the udder attachments and maybe a little bit of rump width on her. And what's crazy is that in the past, I used to think, oh, I'll just breed her to a buck and he's gonna fix everything. And I think that's a common misconception in the goat world. We think, oh, I'm gonna breed these 2 goats and that kid will either get the dam's udder or it will get the buck's dam's udder, you know, the buck's mom's udder. So there's 2 lines and it's only gonna get either one of those, but I really think it goes like this. I think there are, let's say, 50 different traits of an udder. So like teat length, teat width, teat position, side attachments, fore udder, rear attachments. She's not liking this as I touch her. All these different things, production, teat opening. So imagine you take a group of traits from the dam side and a group of traits from the sire side, and you take those dice and you throw them on the ground. You're not gonna get just one side. You're gonna get maybe a combination of different traits from each side. Because I've seen that happen. I've seen great teat placement, but bad something else. So if anything, this Daphne experiment has taught me that it's not as simple as the dam's line or the sire's line. It's more of a combination of genetics that gets thrown out there and you get what you get. So I guess what I'm most nervous about is what if she has a buckling? What am I gonna do if she has a buckling? If she has a doeling, I know I'm gonna raise it up and I'll likely retire her. I have a couple farms that have asked about her. That might be a perfect fit for her. But if she has a buckling, I'm gonna be tempted to want to try to breed her again because I worked so hard. I've spent so much time and money on her, and I need to know if that's wise or not. So her pros are she has high milk production, she always scores well at shows, and did well on her linear appraisal. But the cons are I haven't really been able to get genetic improvement. Her kids seem to be kind of worse than her. Not even like her quality. It seems like I haven't been able to improve. I've always gone back a step. Although she has had a couple really nice looking bucklings, so I should say that. And I don't know if that's just bad luck, bad combination of the 2 genetics, or maybe she herself just doesn't pass on good genes. Because sometimes what a goat looks like, their phenotype, isn't the same as their genotype, what they pass on. And so I've considered if that's the problem too. And then the last con, which is kind of the worst con, is that she doesn't push. I don't know why why don't you push? Why don't you push? I don't know what it is about her. This girl just doesn't like to push. So whoever breeds her, whether it's me or somebody else, has to go in and take those kids out, which is not desirable. It hasn't been passed on to any of her kids, but weird. So if you spent a lot of money on a goat and a lot of time invested and a lot of training, and you think she has pretty good genetics, at what point do you just say that's enough? That's the question. So tell me below what you think, what you would do if you had Daphne here. And I want to make sure and have the decision made so that regardless on if she has a doeling or a buckling, the decision's been made. So now we're 4 weeks away, so I'm going to give her her CD&T. I might wait a couple weeks to shave the udder because I like to shave it when it's already filled up a little bit and it's not quite there yet. But she is officially due on December 7th, which is coming up here. And we will see how this saga ends. Look what I found in my freezer. Peach pie filling from this summer's harvest. And this is the perfect time because I saw a recipe online using whipped butter in a pie crust, and I'm going to try it out for you guys today and we'll see how it turns out. Now I know what you're thinking, why is there sugar in this? And I agree, I normally don't put sugar in pie crust, but you know the rules. First time you make something, you got to follow the recipe exactly. So we're going to first cream this butter and sugar, and my butter is a tad cold. So then after it's whipped, we're going to mix in 2 eggs. Now I'm doubling the recipe because I'm making a peach pie and I need a top to it. But after the butter and egg is incorporated, then we're going to add flour, and I already added salt to this flour. So I know this is a very different way of making a pie crust because normally you cut the butter in and do the whole thing, but this is what it says to do. And honestly, it's looking a bit crumbly. Like, I started laughing to myself, like there's no way, but I kept working it, and it seems like I've got 2 good sized pie crusts. I made one a little smaller because I'm going to do a lattice topper and I don't need that much. So we'll wrap it with saran wrap, stick it in the fridge for a couple hours, and we'll get back to this later. All right, so I set it out for about 15 minutes on the counter, and then we'll start rolling it out. And yeah, it stuck together pretty good. It just I needed to put more flour on the... Anyway, we got it. So the bottom's looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and fill that with the pie filling. And the peaches, I felt like I needed a little bit more fruit, so I actually added some strawberries to it. So it's a peach strawberry pie. All right, we're gonna get the lattice cut, lay that out on the pie, do the little lattice trick, and in the end, we've got a beautiful little pie crust ready to bake. And guys, this actually turned out really good. It was flaky. It was really good. I should have probably put something around the edge so that the crust didn't brown as much, but no. This is a solid pie that Ethan quickly went to steal a piece from for him and Emma. And you have a plate, you have a bowl. It's pie soup a little bit. Let's try it. Peach strawberry. So I'll put the recipe in the description. If you need a new pie recipe, I think this is a solid one. Alright guys, thanks for joining us in today's video. Hopefully you can all give me your advice and I can finally have like a final decision on what to do with Daphne. But we've also got some things that happened this week that I will put in the next week's video. An ultrasound, another breeding we had to do, but it's all good, it's all good. Everything will work out, everything will be fine. In the meantime, start your countdown because Daphne is going to be due on December 7th. We're gonna go in and get our baby, whatever it may be, and it'll be fun. We'll have a little Christmas baby. If you wanna go back and watch the video where Daphne delivered those 5 kids, actually when I pulled those 5 kids, you can watch that here.